pick out of this hat. We got 4 suggestions.
From who?
The fan base.
The fan base. Jesus.
Hold it up. Oh.
I'm not gonna do it if I don't like it. 104. I just woke up from a nap. I'm very tired. Jesus. What is this? This is so... No. This is way too long. This is like 17 million years long. Jesus.
Just read it from the beginning and we'll see how long it goes.
It was September 13th, 1945. I was a foundling, newborn left on an orphanage doorstep. I was just one. Oh, I know what this is. Okay, well then maybe I'm not right about what I thought it was. What the hell is this? Well, I was gonna guess Umbrella Academy. I'm going to learn this in probably a lot longer than the last 2. I honestly think it'll take me half an hour.
Okay, let's see if you can do it in less than half an hour.
Go! Of a dozen babies, I was one of a dozen babies who had no past. But that was all we had in common. I was one of a dozen babies, but we had no past. I was one of a dozen babies, but had no past. I was a foundling, an orphan. No, I was a foundling. I always wondered what it would be like. It was September 13th, 1945. I was a foundling. I never understood why my parents abandoned me. What had I done that was so wrong? It was September 13th. The way it works, how everything fits, I felt different. And even back then, I knew I was going to be different from all the other girls. So I focused on more important things, like learning how to fight. I hated what I saw. I have no photos of myself as a young girl. A foundling, a newborn left on an orphanage doorstep. It was September 13th, 1945. I was a foundling, a newborn left on an orphanage doorstep. I was just one of a dozen babies who had no past, but that was all we had in common. I was never sick, not one day. So I was never taken to a hospital, not until later in my life. When I was little, I envied kids with parents. I always wondered what it would be like. I never understood why my parents abandoned me. What had I done that was so wrong? But when I got older, I knew something was different about me. Sex was confusing, you know? The way it works, how everything fits. I felt different. And even back then, I knew I was going to be different from all the other girls. I made a solemn vow that any kid of mine was going to have both a mum and a pop. A real family. It kept me pure, away from temptation. So I focused my attention on more important things, like learning how to fight. I was tough. Much stronger than all the other kids, even the boys. And I was smart too, top of the class. Maths and physics were my favorite subjects. It all came easy for me. When I got older, I realized that I stood little chance of getting married for the same reason that I hadn't been adopted. I was different. A freak, a goddamn loser. I stopped looking in the mirror. I hated what I saw. I have no photos of myself as a young girl. I don't even remember what I looked like. It's just more of a feeling now.
That's pretty close.
What I fuck up? I know there was like minor things.
You just changed, like, you said sex was confusing instead of sex confused me. The way it works, the way everything fits, the way it works, how everything fits. Like little stuff like that. But as I got older, I knew something was different. But when I got older, I knew
What's
something
the time?
36 minutes.
I think for the most part, when you're learning a monologue, you can get away with those tiny things.
Yeah.
Although when you're on set, you can't, because you have to commit to what you're going to say in case ADR has to take place. I didn't really act that. It was more just...
Are you ready to see what you monologued? Go on.
What if I could put him in front of you? The man that ruined your life. If I could guarantee that you'd get away with it. Would you kill him?
Piss off! No! Why?
Many New Yorkers are leaving the city in fear of a fifth attack by the Fizzle bomber.
You're terrible! Why did you do this?
The worst is stranger than fiction.
You're not talking about bartending, are you?
I'm not talking about bartending.
Oh my god.
Right in
That
here.
so makes sense now.
The Fizzle bomber. His next explosion.
Friggin' Fizzle bomber. Stupidest name ever. She looks a bit like Leonardo DiCaprio though. How did I not get this? Friggin' Predestination. Are you serious?
So what did you think of the monologue before you knew what it was? Honestly, we don't know the time. We've got like...
Makes so much sense. I thought it was a very good script.
Well, how did you feel when you were, like, did you relate to any of it?
Yeah, I related to a lot of it.
Was it easier relating to the script because you were both women?
Well, given the context of the movie, is she a woman?
Raised as a woman, do you feel similar in her shoes?
Yeah. It was all very relatable. That movie is a nightmare. I'm sorry, I need to get it 100% correct. It bothers me.
But you would have been able to nail it if you had an extra 10 minutes?
Well, look, to give that monologue, you need, look, this is an exercise in memorization, and I'm injecting what I can emotionally into these monologues in the time frame that I have, but my focus is the lines. So it would need a lot more than an extra 10 minutes if I wanted to do it properly.